This is Company of Heroes history. Hello and welcome to another episode of Company of Heroes history. This is episode 14 today. No, 15, I believe. Oh, flying through them so quickly I can't even keep track of the numbers. And today we're going to do the first episode of actually kind of mini series of 3 episodes that's going to look at how the meta evolved during patch 1.5. Now 1.5 was really, I think, quite a rich period for Company of Heroes. A couple of the majority of the main bugs that were kind of holding back the game were removed from the game, or patched out, and we had for the first time a kind of stable meta that had kind of exhibited a little bit of evolution over time that was really quite exciting to watch. Now, one aspect of that was this strategy we're going to watch today, which was Golradaer's Unbeatable Strategy, as he described it. Now, the Unbeatable Strategy was a little bit different in terms of meta because it didn't use the standard kind of airborne and tier 4 strategy that was in place and was dominating in patch 1.4. First of all, airborne had a couple of nerfs, and also the tier 4 had a couple of nerfs because the smoke was no longer quite as effective. And on the other side, Panzerschrecks had been buffed, which meant that you couldn't anymore just go for Shermans and trust that the Panzerschrecks would consistently bug through them, phase through and not do any damage. So this is shows where the motor-pool strategies was one of many strategies where motor-pool became really, really dominant. So I'm going to show this today. First of all, Golradaer is pushing the left-hand side. Going to try and do a little bit of damage while these Pioneers are still capping. Did get a little bit of damage there. Would have won that fight if the Volksgrenadiers weren't over here, but here they are. So he's decided to move away to get a little bit of distance between them. First he was taking a little bit of damage, but he has managed to get out of sight range, and now the Rifleman coming over from the right-hand side should be able to push that off, but Nide has wisely moved back towards this VP, pushed back slightly. And we see a Jeep second from Golradaer. Interesting, they're going to use that very effectively, I would think. Getting that extra sight range that is so important, and allowing yourself to kind of less frequently run yourself into MGs, and also can help very greatly at this point in the game. It gives you a little bit of a power spike before the Axis get their second unit out. It comes out a little bit quicker than the Axis second unit, so you get that little power spike, and if you're careful and can see the MG setting up, which you should be able to, you can get out of there without taking any manpower losses. Be a little bit careful you don't get damaged engine, but for the most part I think that's well done. In the meantime, on the right side, the single engineer squad has managed to cap the high fuel point. He's getting himself to a nice position there, so relatively even map control, relatively even early game. I think both players playing a little bit on the safe side, cautious, and an effective early game, I would say. Getting a little bit awkward here because at some point I think he's trying to get the decap off before moving away from here, I would imagine. Might have been better switching to the Rifleman there to get the decap slightly quicker, but maybe he's not worried about the engineer being suppressed and forced to run away, but more worried about the rifle, although they're getting very low on health. That squad will just about sneak away, would it? Yes, sneaks away. God, one more shot away from going down there. Very lucky indeed. This Jeep's going to have to be a little bit careful. Doesn't get too close to this now. It's going to want to get out of there, I think, but it doesn't want to get the damaged engine and lose that squad, so doing the right thing, I think, being a little bit careful. If the Pioneers had moved here from Nide, he could have captured this, trapped this, and taken it down quite easily, I think. MG moves up ever so slightly again, suppresses this rifle squad, which may now have to get out of there. Ooh, this Jeep is taking the long way around while this second Rifleman squad tries to push on this side. Gonna have to be very careful. It looks like it might get cut off here by the Volks. Does get the damaged engine. That's almost certain to go down now, particularly getting shot at by this bunker. Nice move there from Nide. Managed to zone that out quite nicely. I thought the Golradaer was a little bit too aggressive, pushing it onto this left side into this corner. Got itself in an awkward position and was kind of relying on there not being a damaged engine to be able to get out of there safely. It wasn't to be this time, and there we go. Engine hits the devil. Well, it was very low health, so I think you would have been very lucky to get away from that alive rather than been unlucky to not do so. Second MG out for Nide, so looks like he's got an MG, Volk MG. Nice stable move that was very probably among the more common early build choices for Axis in this build of the game. Gave you plenty of security on your side of the map. God, this Volksgrenadier is so low on health. Gonna have to be careful there. Might want to get some veterancy on that and get that up fighting fit once again. This engineer squad, I mean, it's serenely been capping the right side of the map and has now managed to cap basically all of the important points on this side here. Interesting, he didn't prioritize his plus 16 munitions, maybe worried that I was going to get cut off. Was more likely that I was going to get captured by Nide and the other one, although it's interesting to see that for the first time now, Nide has only just moved over onto this right-hand side with one squad here. Golradaer's got himself pinned by this VP. Done one good there. He's been quite effective in trying to keep the pressure on this left-hand side, but hasn't really been effective in chasing Nide from the map, although it's notable that this munitions on the 16 wasn't capped last time we looked. Let's have a quick look and see if he's got it online yet. No, still hasn't got it online, so he hasn't actually had any of the plus 16 munitions in his control to this point in the game. I'm going to switch back to Golradaer because he's kind of the focus of this match, because it was his strategy that we're looking at. Oh, Nide, careful! Does lose the squad there. Perhaps he was doing some micro up here in this house. Ooh, these riflemen. I mean, there's quite a few windows there that he's firing out of. Looks like they are going to be able to fire out this side, so he is taking the full damage from the 5 Golradaer squads. He's got to be a bit careful. Running around the house might do a little bit of help, but ooh, this is nasty. A little bit of a manpower drain there for sure. To here now. Oh, the MG is getting up quite aggressively now. If you move it up slightly more, you can actually get to a situation where you can suppress the barracks itself, or suppress units coming out of the barracks itself, which really does slow down the next bit of aggression. Oh, looks like Nide got out of this house and has let the rifleman get in there. I'm not sure that was a great move here, although he has moved to the correct side of the house, which only has the 2 windows. So he is doing about as good as he can, given that he did lose that house there. Although I think it's now time to get out of there. Doesn't want to lose another squad. I think that just lost that pioneer on the high fuel. Doesn't want to lose another squad. Indeed, he doesn't. Gets out of there just fine. Hold on. Nide has also taken this strat point here. Has been able to cut off this high munitions from Golradaer. But I am worried. I mean, he's the time now to push on the right-hand side, but he's still... I know at best he will only have one of the high munitions points online. And I think that's a bit of a tricky position to be in as the Wehrmacht. You're such a munitions-heavy faction. A lot of your anti-tank comes through Panzerschrecks, which are quite expensive. And a lot of your units really need munitions to help out to make them more effective, like the Volks need the MP40s. And the Pioneers need the Flamers, for example. But yeah. So without that income, he's going to struggle and may have a little bit of a weakness here. Now for the first time we see a little bit of tech here, supply yard. So we've seen that Golradaer hasn't got any rifleman upgrades that I've seen. I haven't seen him get grenades. Certainly hasn't got bars or stickies in yet. And he's going directly for the supply yard, going for some quick tech there to vehicles. This MG has done a nice job hitting this rifleman here, but he is getting flanked. He must know he's been there a long time. But a second MG beautifully set up, covering the flank of the first MG. Really nicely done there. Will he be able to change the targeting on this MG to suppress the second squad here? He does get the suppression down. Although with the 2 rifles going to push around the side, he's desperately going to need some support soon. One Volkswagen squad is coming across. And it will probably be able to help this, and I think Nide should be safe here. I mean, it'd be one of those situations where if Golradaer had got a little bit of rifle upgrades in there, had got himself, particularly the grenades, could really have caused some havoc there. But I think it's not to be. Oh, he's got to be very careful with this squad. Is he going to retreat through the MG's fire? Does go down there. So very nice move from Nide. Nide has actually come back into this game very nicely indeed. I think the early game, perhaps possibly partially by virtue of... Oof. Oh, that is a reinforcement nightmare there. 3 squads he needs to reinforce almost from scratch. So that's an enormous manpower dump that he's going to put into that, which is not ideal, particularly when his motor pool is just about ready to finish. Golradaer is in a very difficult situation here, so obviously he's going to rely heavily on what is his fast tech to get him back into this game. And we're seeing here that he's gone for the... My god, that's coming out quickly. It's coming out so quickly because he's gone for the armor company, and I believe it might be called rapid deployment. There might be a different word for it. Rapid. Can't remember exactly what the term is for it, but it makes your heavy and medium vehicles like this come out a little bit quicker. So they produce more quickly, which is very effective in this case. It means that he gets a little bit more of a timing window with this first quad half track. which, as you can see by the map control situation, is absolutely imperative. He has virtually nothing online. It's gone straight for this cutoff, which I'm not sure about because, as we can see from the tactical map, this is all, the right hand side is all connected through here anyway, so I'm not sure I would have gone for that, or rather than going directly for trying to get some of my own things back online. Oh, looks like he's trying to rush the base here. Obviously, oh, and look at this timing. He sees the pack. He's going to try and run out of there now. Is he going to get out in time? This rifleman pops out at a very awkward time. Does get out of there just fine there. Rifleman pushing in, probably just to try and... Oh, we now see this might be defensive chosen because of this little guy who's popped out of the top. Isn't it shooting? It wasn't visibly shooting, but still he's doing some damage. Quad now out on the field and followed by an armored car with armored skirts. The first time, or one of the first times we've seen armored skirts in this series. Now, the reason for that is in patch 1.5, the armored skirts ability was actually made cheaper. Went down from 75 to 50 munitions, which made it a little bit more appealing as an upgrade because it wasn't going to take quite so much, a little bit cheaper, a little bit more cost effective, but also as people moved away from the tank depot and were experimenting more with the light vehicles of the Allied team, people kind of recognized how effective the M8 could be. Decent anti-infantry power, was extremely effective against Pumas because of the bug that was in place in the game, and was relatively survivable as well once you got that skirt upgrade. Oh no, we also see raiders coming here. So what Golradaer is doing here with the armor company is, instead of going for airborne, which was incredibly effective, what he's trying to do is take advantage of the fact that armor company was buffed in several ways. It was changed around a little bit, so the Calliope was on the wrong side of the tree from the Pershing, so that was a negative, but it was buffed in the sense that the Pershing now came in a little bit quicker, and in fact came in one whole CP earlier than the Blitz Tiger on the Axis side. So what that did is it gave you a couple of nice abilities in the mid-game, like raid, like rapid deployment, or, again, I can't remember exactly what that ability is called, that makes your units come out slightly quicker. But as raid and rapid deployment meant you could sort of take some map control in the game. Oh, the M8 mine there almost takes out that squad. Very lucky that he just reversed just enough there as well, to be honest, and he'll set it out. Quad now pushing back in again, doing a great bit of damage on these Volks, which are now basically relegated to just a manpower drain, to be honest. Yes, and then the power spikes, after you could use these to kind of support yourself in getting map control in the mid-game, or regaining map control in the mid-game. You would then have that really big power spike later in the game where your Pershing would come out 1 CP earlier than the Blitz Tiger, and could effectively clear the fields because there was nothing on the field from the Axis at that time that was comparable in terms of its power. So that was the kind of theory behind the strategy. It was also more effective, quite effective in that it's a challenging strategy to use in many ways because it required very intelligent use of combined arms. Oh, another little push in here. Looks like he may be going for a... Oh, big miss there on the Panzerschreck. Could be going for the M8 mine in front of the Krieg barracks, which is a very classic move. Nope, not on this occasion, just required the munitions for it. Yeah, so it relied a lot on combined arms. Oh, this rifleman squad may go down. He's doing a lot of... Oh, very good move there. Was able, despite doing the... focusing on this micro in the base, was able to get that unit out of it and set up a flank with this rifleman. Brilliant multitasking from Golradaer, and he might be able to take out this MG. In fact, doesn't body block with the rifles. That's something we're quite aware of. Oh, and he does discover the pack. That's a very nice pick off here. But Nide not happy with the bit of luck that Golradaer had there. Oh, could be very tricky indeed. Looks at the pack. Will go down, I would think. Ooh, this rifleman's got to be a little bit careful though not to get out of there. Pack does go down. Now the light vehicles, if they want to, could rush over here and help out on this side. Pretty confident that the pack is not going to take them out. Golradaer also happily recruits that pack and takes it for his own. M8 pushing in now, causing an absolute havoc over here. We've got some veterancy, really making a nuisance of itself. Nide is happy to place his Volks in the building here and kind of keep these light vehicles busy. But that quad wasn't shooting for quite a long time though. Keep this busy even though he is draining manpower. I think maybe he's happy to know where they are. Kind of keep tabs on them for now and kind of limit the damage rather than actively try and kill these or use this manpower elsewhere on the map. Oh, got to get out of there with that squad. Does do that. Very good job there. Do you see bars now coming from Golradaer? This is another aspect of this strategy, giving yourself the anti-infantry power to take on the grenadiers and stormtroopers of the opponent. Very nice there. Oh, good move here, putting the Panzerschreck in the house. Gives them a little bit more range, a little bit, and they can obviously shoot in all directions. So that's a nice little move. Not going to be enough to take out the M8, but yeah, nicely done. Pack now has been moved back to his base. But yeah, the bars are a big part of that. So basically what Golradaer argued is that between the motor pool and the barracks, you basically had access to the full suite of units that you would need to counter anything the Axis put on the field. You have the bars and these light vehicles to take out any infantry that come out, and you have the AT guns and sticky bombs, again from the upgraded from the barracks, that can take on any Axis armor. So that was the kind of theory behind it. It was a adaptable and flexible strategy that gave you everything you needed and had those kind of significant and consistent power spikes throughout the game, which made it, in his eyes, unbeatable. Now we can see here that from the very difficult position that he was in for a while there, with very few units on the field. God, look at the range on that pack. Absolutely outrageous. Look at that. Fantastic stuff. See one more shot. Boom. Misses that time, but clearly very strong. Oh! Now that M8 does get caught out there. These grenadiers with the 2 Shreks did push up that right side. We're able to catch it unawares and take it out. Does the right thing with the quad, moving it away, making sure that's not going to meet the same fate. But yeah, having been in a absolutely atrocious position not much more than 5 minutes ago, you can see the effectiveness of the strategy has been able to come back into it slightly. And it does seem to be a little... And it has seemed to be able to assert himself some map control on the left-hand side, although he may lose it briefly here. I'm not sure that this quad alone is going to be able to push into this. Yeah, so he has been able to take this left-hand side and get himself back into the game, when before the early game really was in favour of Nide, for sure. Nide, I'll just mention briefly a little bit about him as a player. Now, Nide, I really enjoyed watching his games. He perhaps never kind of reached the heights of some of the other players that we've covered, some of the real top guys who dictated and changed the meta. But he was a very good player, could play with all factions. Oh, these grenadiers though. He's desperate to get that kill, but they're so low health. It's a minor miracle that those have got out of there. They still might go down if these bars choose to have one last more volley. They don't. Does get out. That's very lucky. Yeah, so I think Nide was a very good player. He played with all factions. Nice guy. I believe he was from New Zealand, if memory serves. And he was just a good, solid Company of Heroes player who was a really good member of the community to boot. So yeah, I'm quite a fan of Nide, and glad to be able to cast one of his games. It was actually uploaded by Golradaer alongside his strategy guide that he put out for this unbeatable strategy, as he termed it. It was one of a few games. The rest of the games were on Bow Lowlands, which we covered recently, so I didn't want to rush back to Bow for another game so soon after we covered the Architect vs Razor game. And also this one was had a few more responses to it within the thread that was the post in which it was posted, and seems to be a little bit more of a good game. A second M8 has come onto the field now. Obviously keen to have those out there. He doesn't at the minute though have the munitions to get the armor skirts though, so not immediately going to be able to take many fights, particularly when there's double Shrek swords going around. Oh, and a damaged engine there. Another Shrek sword comes over. I believe this quad now got itself to double veterancy, but I think it's almost certain to go down now. Ooh, doesn't quite go down to that shot. This next one go. Might be able to take this Grenadier squad with it though. Nide is so desperate to take these out. Oh, it does lose that squad. Drops the Panzerschreck as well. It doesn't drop the Panzerschreck even. Oh, even worse. He did manage to kill a rifleman squad over here. This single rifle that was just running around, putting itself in harm's way. Nide clearly not happy to see these that quad still getting away. Oh, it does lose his Panzerschreck. Gonna have to get out of there. Yep, does decide to get out. Doesn't want to chase that down and risk losing another squad. But I absolutely feel his frustration. That must be one of the most infuriating things to see. A 5% quad escape yet again for the second or perhaps even third time in this game. Absolutely must be very frustrating indeed. This pack is a nice thing, just having the base, a little bit of security. You know, he knows now that if any Axis tanks come onto the field, which may happen because Nide's had decent fuel control for a large part of this game, it's not going to be the sort of thing that immediately pushes him off and causes him to die instantly. He's got this pat gun to kind of tide him over and buy him the time to get a second AT gun on the field if he needs it, if it's really heavy armor. Ooh, big flank here from these rifles. Oof! That one, I'm not sure quite how that managed to sneak in there. Obviously just peered around the hedgerow here. Did manage to get it. Oh, Nide, no. Oh, he was in a very good position there, but he now finds himself double cut off and loses a couple of squads on the retreat. You can kind of see that his desperation to sort of take out the quad, he lost a couple of squads through that, and now you're kind of seeing that, oh gosh, if he played a little bit more calmly, a little bit more quietly, and played some of those, as they say in chess, those quiet moves. Ooh, is there a grenade going in there? Looks like he maybe doesn't have the munitions. So there we go, grenade does go in. Does Golradaer get out? Doesn't. Stays in there. Loses another man, but the squad does manage to get itself up to veterancy 2 now. Same 8 now, coming over to take on the MP40s. I actually saw it take some damage there from the MP40 shooting its rear armor, which is certainly interesting. It's interesting, and they do manage to chase the MP40s away despite the critical damage being done to this M8. You can see. Look at that, lost a little bit of health just to those MP40s. I think it's getting into a situation now where Golradaer is kind of really asserting himself on the map. He's managed to push Nide pretty much off the right side entirely, as you can see. He's almost completely gone from this side of the map. He's got a cutoff in place on the left-hand side, so there's no more fuel income for Nide. And he's basically being able to now take control of everything. Nide's situation kind of started going downhill a little bit with some of the losses he took on the right-hand side, but around this house, excuse me, here. Lost that Pioneer, and then the Volkswagen squad almost went down. He was chased off that side. But then when he lost the Pat gun, lost his the kind of more impactful anti-infantry power, anti-light vehicle power, excuse me. That really has done a lot of damage. Here we go, Golradaer, even while winning the game, taking the time to give some advice to another player. Nice of him. I can imagine how that might also be quite annoying, but I think Golradaer's heart was always in the right place. Patgun now getting involved. The Panzer strikes again. Don't manage to get a shot off. Nide clearly must be frustrated again. He's going to lose this MG in this house too if he's not careful. It's all falling apart, I think, for Nide. He's clearly holding on for something coming out next. Got the LMG upgrade on this Grenadier squad. Really a nice combination, actually. If you're in a relatively static war, to have both the LMG and the Panzerschreck, gives you a little bit of anti-infantry and anti-tank power. A really versatile unit. Oh, let's get this Panzerschreck squad in the house now. Taking a few pot shots at this quad. I'm sure Golradaer will recognize that and move away. Indeed, he does. He's got so much presence on the field now. Let's have a look at his units, really. Yeah, he really has absolutely everything he could want. Ooh. Although his quad did just hit a mine in the middle, and again, by a miracle, sneaks away from it with 5% HP. Nide must be absolutely tearing his hair out trying to take this thing down. Very unlucky there that this mine must have been placed quite a lot earlier in the game. Didn't manage to take it out, even though it was already quite heavily damaged at that moment. Finally, Golradaer has the armored skirts upgrade for his M8, so now it's going to have that survivability that's going to make it even more of a nuisance. He can put it in awkward situations and be more confident that it's going to get out of there alive. He's feeling much more confident now to push in, even though he knows there's a Panzerschreck squad here. He feels confident to push in and do a little bit of damage. Clearly confident he's not going to lose it. He's got a little bit of circle strafing from the M8. I'm not sure that works too well in this house because you can't actually get out of here with it. But that's not going to stop it getting its first level of veterancy and then running away neatly over to this side of the map. Looks like he wants to go in the map again. Oh, here we go from there. So this is, could be one of Nide's ways back into the match. You see, he's lost a lot of map control, but he did have the fuel earlier, clearly, in the bank. That's enabled him to get up to tier 4 and get his first Ostwind out. Now, the 1.5 Ostwind was nowhere near as powerful as the 1.2 Ostwind, which is extremely powerful against infantry in particular because of its low reload time. But the Ostwind is nevertheless a pretty powerful unit. Now, Golradaer, of course, has this pack from earlier that's going to help to zone that out, and he's now built himself a second AT gun, 57mm AT gun that can really, in the right position, will be able to take that Ostwind out. But nevertheless, a lot of his units on the field will not be capable of taking that out. Golradaer's got himself the stickies, so he is going to be able to sort of zone it out and delay. So that's the key thing here. The Ostwind can't now just run riot around the field and take everything out. He is going to have to be very careful with it. And although it's powerful, it's not going to be able to run Nide's units off the field in the same manner that Golradaer's light vehicles ran Nide off the field earlier. Oh, grenade goes in from that Grenadiers. Takes out a couple of members of this squad. I mean, the LMG is powerful, but for some reason it isn't shooting, and in the end, Nide just has to get out of there. I'd be disappointed that LMG was shooting more. In the meantime, Golradaer's Nide even is using his Ostwind nicely. She's shooting on these infantry at range, although it's a miracle that this squad, which was already very low health, didn't lose any models there, just lost some more health from the shots. But now we can see the coup de grace, I would imagine. The early M26 Pershing now on the field. This is that power spike I was talking about. Even in a situation where he wasn't in such a dominant position as he is in this particular replay, having that M26 Pershing out earlier than the equivalent Tigers from the opposition team meant that you had this window of opportunity now that Golradaer is enjoying, although the Pershing seems to just be kind of doing a pirouette around this road rather than doing any real damage. You could run riot around the field. There's really no counter available. I mean, perhaps if Nide had a little bit more control and had been a little bit more on top of things, he might have been able to get a Panther out. Although, obviously, a Panther alone, again, isn't enough to really stand up to a Pershing in most situations, particularly without veterancy. So, even in that situation, the Pershing, very strong indeed. He's opting to take out the Wehrmacht quarters. I'm not sure about that as an option. I think maybe he's just trying to pin Nide in his base for a little bit longer, keep doing a little bit of damage where he can. He's more concerned with sort of delaying and kind of using this opportunity to delay and keep all of Nide's units busy while he takes the rest of the map and kind of consolidates his position. It looks like Nide just lost a Volksgrenadier squad here, trying to cap that plus 16 fuel under the fire from a lot of things. And meanwhile, it looks like Golradaer was able to take out this bunker, and with it, the 4 Grenadiers inside. I think this could be, one sec too late on garrisoning. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, looks like a cheeky M8 mine attempt there. It's very common in these days to just rush an M8 in there, drop a mine, and then try and get out. But if you don't, you kind of just sacrifice it to do critical damage to any units that the Axis might have there or thereabouts. Golradaer now, it seems, is just saving up for a second M26 Pershing to really put the final nail in the coffin, although I think it is kind of a case of just counting down to the win now for Golradaer. Look at him using the very effectively using the reinforcing ability of his quad to get his rifleman back up to snuff. Look at that LMG just sitting on the floor, very unfortunate. So we do see a Panther now. That's interesting to see how the Panther performs. Obviously the Pershing now has got itself +1 veterancy, so it's a little bit more effective than a fresh one would have been. Although we'll have to see. Panther misses a shot there. It's going to be very frustrating. Not going to be able to chase that down. Obviously he has to be careful of the rifleman squads and AT guns lying around, so we might not get to see too much of those engagements going forward. But we'll have to see. I think you can see how Golradaer is very effectively using combined arms in this situation. So he's got, in every such part of the map, he has himself a few infantry squads and some anti-tank. He's got himself in a position where, although he may not be able to hold a concerted push on either side, he does have a sort of, at least a soft counter to everything. Oof, look at that. Huge amount of damage from those light vehicles. He does at least have a soft counter to anything that nide could throw at him. That's what made this strategy so powerful, was its flexibility to anything that could throw them.
Just give me a rifle.
Oh, it turns out that nide actually went defensive in this game. Oh, that's a nightmare for him. I mean, it's a decent option in some ways against armor, particularly in this time when people didn't often go for the Calliope first. I mean, it does. The Flak 88s were very powerful at zoning out any light vehicles, of course, and if you supported them adequately with MGs like he had, then it was relatively easy to support. And in an area like this, for example, an Angeville could basically lock down this entire side given its long range. It looks like nide has basically given up and they're just chatting, so I'm going to speed it up slightly. Looks like Golradaer saying, yeah, mines would have done the trick. Oh, another engagement. I'll slow it down again quickly. Let's see how the Panther does. I'm not too convinced it's going to be that strong. The Pershing goes back into the base, having been healed up. That MG on the building is making a very strange noise. Sounds like that's something they changed at one point. Panther now pushing in, gets itself immediately sticky. The AT gun now is firing on it. I mean, these riflemen may get hurt, obviously, but look how much damage that AT gun has done. Oh! I mean, he must be using the armor-piercing rounds. You would think to do this much damage this quickly. Oh! Doesn't quite get the penetration that he needed to take that Panther out. But you can see, even of the non-doctrinal tanks, this is the absolute most powerful that the Axis have available to them. And even just one anti-tank gun and a couple of sticky bombs is enough to zone those out. Golradaer may lose some riflemen here. It's far too late to save them in this game, to save nide in this game, but nevertheless, very, very careful. Now the two Persians come in the back and will gank this Panther. Does go down, double veterancy, and I think we can safely say, speed this up quickly and get to the end, because I don't want to labour the point too much. But I think you've been able to see the power of the Unbeatable Strategy, as it was called. Now what we'll do in the next game, we'll look at a strategy that Aniketos I'm not sure if he came up with it as such, he was definitely experimenting with it early in the game. But the Blitz veterancy strategy was certainly something that he kind of developed and popularized to a degree that hadn't been before that in the game. So that's what we'll look at, and that was what a lot of players used then to counteract the Unbeatable Strategy that we're seeing here today. So that'll be the next game. I think we had a nice game between Aniketos and Razor, if I remember correctly. So it'll be interesting to see that. Whoa, lovely little coup de grace there with the Calliope. Yep, it will be interesting to see how that looks in practice. I haven't watched the game yet, but I have identified it, so we'll watch that. And then the third one of this mini-series will be Golradaer again, who came up with a counter strategy for the Blitz veterancy strat. So that's what we'll be looking at in the near future. I hope you've enjoyed this kind of shorter game that's been a little bit more focused on strategy than the play-by-play of the last few. And I hope you'll join again for the next episode of Company of Heroes History. Bye-bye.